400 households. It was one of 6 infections detected in the UK. They couldn't be traced because a registration form hadn't been filled in properly. Nicola Sturgeon has suggested the exit from Scotland's lockdown could be accelerated in light of new trends in infection data. The First Minister has confirmed all pupils in Scotland will return to school part or full-time from March the 15th. A 5-step plan's been agreed for easing the COVID lockdown in Northern Ireland. There will be a rolling review every 4 weeks. Ministers have not set out target dates for each stage. But Downing Street has refused to deny reports Boris Johnson is considering setting up a charity to pay for the refurbishment of his official flat. Coming next, we'll get the latest regarding the Alex Salmond investigation. The Deputy First Minister of Scotland has been facing questions in the Scottish Parliament.
LBC News weather.
Mainly dry this evening, with rain pushing in through the southwest tonight. Lows of -3. I'm Alan Barber with a full forecast coming up in the next 15 minutes.
LBC News travel.
If you need to make a journey this afternoon in London, the Cricket Village underpass on the North Circular is closed on the eastbound side because of an accident. But it's due all the way back to the Great Cambridge Interchange. And the A3 at Kingston Vale, that's got a lane closed by an accident on the southbound side at Robin Hood. So that's circulating all the way back to Tibbets Corner. Now the M25 has queues heading anti-clockwise at junction 9 for Leatherhead. There's been an oil spill there, so the exit road is closed. Staying in Surrey, the M3 has a breakdown northbound between junction 3 at Bradford and 2 at the M25. So the inside lane's closed. I'm Emma Brassey. Your next update is in 10 minutes here on LBC News.
This is LBC News.
LBC News time, it's 5:22 right now. Let's get more on that investigation into the Alex Salmond affair in Scotland. The Deputy First Minister of Scotland has admitted legal advice contained reservations about an investigation into the former First Minister. John Swinney says he's going to release these documents. Opposition parties have threatened to put forward a vote of no confidence in him. Let's get the latest on this from LBC's Phil McDonald. Phil.
Well, John, this legal advice is very important because it could explain why the Scottish Government backed down in court when Alex Salmond brought forward a judicial review in 2018 that was eventually heard at the Court of Session in early 2019. The government had to concede in front of a judge that they had botched their inquiry into complaints made about Mr. Salmond, which was ruled to be unfair, unlawful and tainted with apparent bias. And in his evidence session before the Holyrood Committee on Friday, Alex Salmond gave his own theory on why the government pressed on with the case.
I think it came to be believed that among some people that the loss of the judicial review, the loss of a court case would be cataclysmic, not just for Leslie Evans, not just for senior officials in the Scottish Government and special advisors, but would be cataclysmic for Nicola Sturgeon herself. And I think, unfortunately, people came to the belief that the police process would somehow assist in firstly not losing the judicial review and thereafter making sure that the loss of the judicial review was swept away in the inevitable publicity of the criminal trial.
So there you have the former First Minister of Scotland alleging that his former colleagues, political allies, friends tried to run down the clock, believing that he would be arrested before the case was heard in court, something that was denied in writing by the Deputy First Minister today, who said there was no evidence to support such claims and others made by Mr. Salmond during his session on Friday. The inquiry has wanted to see this particular document, legal advice that was given to ministers for months, but they've faced resistance from John Swinney, who's argued that the government has a right to legal confidentiality, but he's also agreed to let the committee see the advice in some form. That was back in December, but it appears that an agreement couldn't be reached, and Mr. Swinney was given an ultimatum by opposition parties to call him last night to publish the legal advice in full or face a vote of no confidence. Shortly after that vote became public, the Deputy First Minister announced that he would indeed publish the documents, and opposition parties came down hard for that, as Parliament has twice voted to compel the government into releasing its legal advice to the committee. And John Swinney told Parliament why the decision had been taken.
In recent days, a number So things are very different now. Things are more open. There's no harm in that, and I think brand Rishi is pushing himself forward on social media and on every channel, including LBC tomorrow at 5, as well as the budget itself at 12:30. So it's a different approach. Maybe it's a more modern approach, but it's quite interesting to see, I think.
David, thank you as always. David Smith, economics editor at the Sunday Times, as he says, 12:30 on LBC tomorrow, Rishi Sunak with the budget, and then again at 5, taking questions from members of the public and journalists. As ever with COVID, there is a mix of news, some encouraging, some perhaps concerning. Figures from the Office for National Statistics, we talked about them with Ben a moment ago, show that COVID deaths in England and Wales are falling fastest among people aged over 80, which suggests the vaccination programme is having a good effect. There's also good news from France that the health authorities have approved the AstraZeneca vaccine for people aged over 65.
When possible, then take the third
from Brazil,
right.
not yet published in peer-reviewed form, which found the Brazil variant was more transmissible than the original virus. The variant's been detected in 25 countries. Let's catch up again with Professor David Spiegelhalter, statistician who chairs the Winton Centre for Risk and Evidence Communication at the University of Cambridge. How are you tonight, Welcome.
That's fine. Very nice to be here.
Let's start with this ONS data suggesting the vaccine is having an effect on death rates.
Yes, yeah.
You'll see the 2 near accidents I had. I was travelling. I was on my main road. They were on side roads. You'd see the markings. You have to be careful when you're coming into this test centre. When you come to do the bay parking, the drive-in, people don't pay attention to road markings, or perhaps that they've wore out. So you've got to be on your guard when you're coming inside here and doing your drive-in bay park. So when you're doing it, reduce your speed, make sure you know it's safe, make sure you understand that cars could be coming from anywhere. It's late evening, early morning, whatever. People are going home from work, shopping, whatever. So it's very important that you travel at a speed that's appropriate and that the speed meets the conditions that you're in. So you'll find people cutting corners when they're in a car park. They just want to get out of the car park as soon as possible. So be very careful. You'll see that the driver of the red coloured car, he gave me a funny look because he did something stupid, and it was one of them things. So don't get upset. Just make sure you're aware of it and make sure you're aware of other people. Now when you're reversing out of this car park, make sure you look at where the cars are coming from. Again, we discussed the vanishing point. It's something that I discussed with you when you're having driving lessons with me. So constantly reevaluate, constantly look out for cars, and constantly update yourself on the vanishing point, i.e. where the cars are coming from. You can hear that noise. That's telling me that this car's behind me and in front of me. So I've just stopped. No big deal.
And I think it's quite, we've got to wait and see what happens. Already some areas are levelling off in terms of the, the reduction in cases. There's so much we don't know. And so, as I said, there's going to be a lot of argument. I'm not going to take sides, but I do think some caution is required.
And can you cast your eye over this information on the Brazil variant? I said this hasn't been published in peer-reviewed form, but it doesn't look great.
No, yeah, exactly. It's not really my area. This is really virology and infectious diseases stuff. So it's not something I focus on. But I think we have seen how one variant, other countries call the British variant, and we call the Kent variant, and I don't know what they call it in Kent. But I can see what an effect that has had, and is now happening in other countries. It just has taken over, and so obviously there is real concern about this, about a new variant, particularly if there's any suggestion that the vaccines are not so effective.
And just finally on France and AstraZeneca, it's not only France that's had a problem, but what do you make of all that?
Oh, I really have to control myself. I think that
no, you don't.
No, well, really. Okay, can I be rude about President Macron?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is that sort of thing? Well, it was completely idiotic, his statement about, the AstraZeneca vaccine is quasi-ineffective for the over 65s. Yeah, he was right. They're right, and the regulatory agencies were right that there was very little direct evidence of its effectiveness in over 65s. But, in this country, I think we made the bold decision that there was no evidence that it was not effective, and a lot of laboratory evidence that it was likely to be effective, and we made that bold decision, and we were absolutely right that both vaccines are working incredibly well at preventing hospitalizations and causing the death rate to come down even faster. So there they are in Europe, having had these sneering remarks made about AstraZeneca, and people say they don't want it. Oh, that wouldn't matter so much perhaps if there was, vaccines were like you just go into the chemist and buy one, like, which headache treatment you want, but they're not available. So it means that by not having the AstraZeneca, people are not getting vaccinated, and that will lose lives. That will cost lives, and I think it's, well, put it mildly, deeply unfortunate, some of the decision making that's been made in the regulatory agencies and the comments that have been made.
Thank you as always, Professor David Spiegelhalter. The LBC News now. Here's Thomas Watts.
The Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, says the search for a missing case of the Brazil COVID variant has narrowed. Officials are making contact with several hundred households in the southeast of England. Secondary school pupils in Scotland will spend some time in the classroom before the Easter holidays. First Minister Nicola Sturgeon has also suggested it may be possible to accelerate the exit from the lockdown. The latest daily figures show a further 343 people have died within 28 days of a positive coronavirus test in the UK. There have been another 6,391 confirmed infections. The weather tonight, cloudy with some thick fog for many parts of the UK. Some spells of rain in the southwest later, clear and frosty in the northwest, a low of -2.
Budget 2021 on LBC. An economy ravaged by the coronavirus pandemic. Government borrowing at record levels. Unemployment at its highest in almost 5 years.
For the duration of the pandemic, the government will continue to do whatever it takes to protect jobs and livelihoods across the UK.
How will Chancellor Rishi Sunak start to balance the books?
It's so important we get our public finances and our borrowing and debt levels back to a more sustainable position once we get through this crisis.
This Wednesday, join me, Sheila Fogarty, for Budget 2021, live and in full, as the Chancellor lays out his taxation and spending plans for the next year.
I'm Eddie Mayer. I'll be live on LBC from 4, hearing your opinion and getting the very best analysis. Will the UK government have done enough for you?
This Wednesday, Budget 2021 on LBC.
Many small businesses are facing multiple challenges in the current economic climate. British Business Bank aims to help your business find a way and make finance markets work for you, whether starting up, scaling up, or staying ahead. Richard Bierman, Managing Director of Startup Loans at British Business Bank, explains more.
One of the key issues is uncertainty. Other issues, although there are certain sectors that are doing well, actually for most, growth is suppressed. And probably most concerning for many businesses, it's really the lack of cash flow.
To see the full discussion, head to lbc.co.uk. Thanks to the UK's Economic Development Bank, British Business Bank and LBC.
Get brilliant broadband at a brilliant price, because Superfast Fibre is now $24.99 a month for 24 months with a $19.99 setup. With BT, you get the speeds we promise or £20 back with our Stay Fast guarantee. Powerful Wi-Fi from our smart hub with a Which Best Buy, and more online security than any other big provider. So, join BT today. Offer ends 20th of March. CPI plus 3.9% increase each March. £32.99 for month 25. £20 BT reward card if we can't fix speed in 30 days. To verify, email superfast.fibre@bt.com. Terms apply.
A friend said to me, give me one good reason why I'd want to go away on holiday this year. So I said, Saga, there are many reasons, such as they're only those who are fully vaccinated for coronavirus can travel policy, or their booking amendment option just in case your vaccine is delayed. They even include door-to-door VIP chauffeur service if you're flying long haul or going on a cruise. Plus, a private balcony with every ocean cruise cabin. Talk about escapism. With Saga's 70 years of travel experience, why wouldn't you want to swap your lounge for a lounger this year? Search Saga Travel.
For full details of the coronavirus vaccination policy, see our booking conditions. VIP travel service available in the UK up to 250 miles. Only for ocean cruises and nationwide for long-haul travel. Over 50s only. T's and C's apply.
If the thought of selling your car feels like, why not sell your car like a pro at motorway.co.uk? Motorway finds your best offer from a nationwide network of verified dealers. You can get up to £1,000 more than part exchange. Sell your car hassle-free without the drama. Go to motorway.co.uk and sell your car like a pro.
Motorway.co.uk. TrustedPPE.co.uk, supplying protective equipment for home and at work. Order before 4 p.m. weekdays for same-day dispatch. Rated excellent on Trustpilot.
The stunning Samsung Galaxy S21 series is here. With next-generation camera and video, it's epic from every angle. And with Vodafone, you can save £360 guaranteed. Simply trade in a Galaxy S9 or S10 using our trade-in tool. Order online now and save £360 on the Galaxy S21 series. Ready? Vodafone.
Based on saving £15 per month on a 24-month plan. Return device must pass trading checks. Details and terms at vodafone.co.uk.
Eddie Mair on LBC. We've got the business news for you now with Chris Justin from 7 Investment Management. Contactless, Chris, it's the story of all of our lives this last year, but some of the banks are worried about it.
They are, and that's because there's chatter that the Chancellor is going to be confirming the proposed increase to an £100 cap for contactless payments tomorrow, which is raising concerns, as you mentioned, from some of the UK's biggest banks. And that's because of fraud, essentially, and payment-related fraud has been on the rise over the course, of the last 2 or 3 years. Tens of billions of pounds are spent every quarter using contactless payments, which can mean a potentially big bill. As a result of that, the banks...
It's 4040 on this road. Don't forget.
Susceptible to abuse. So banks are urging the FCA, as an example in this case, to stagger any increase, just to try and, curb our behaviours to a degree, as well as how many times those cards can be used in that fashion throughout the day. So if anybody does get hold of your card before, for example, you freeze it, there's a limit to how much damage in this case can be done. But all of this is just trying to keep pace with the changes in how we're going about spending our money, and obviously just trying to balance the obligations that they have as banks should fraud be committed.
Whenever I look at my energy bill, particularly in the winter, I think I've been overcharged. It turns out some people have been.
They have, and you make a very good point, because quite often we take a lot of this stuff on trust, because it's really difficult to work out how much you actually should be paying. But Ofgem, the energy regulator, has said that over 1 million people have been overcharged by energy firms, and this is specifically when they switch suppliers. And the compensation bill for that in total is around £10.4 million now. So some of the biggest names are listed as having made the mistakes. So E.ON, British Gas, Npower, Octopus, Scottish Power and so on. There are 18 of them in total. So this isn't a case of one of them getting it wrong. It's a whole group of them. Essentially, customers who switched between 2013 and 2020 after price rises were fixed were penalised for moving. They didn't have their tariff price protected, basically, when they switched another supplier, meaning an average refund due of £6 for customers affected. So it's a slap on the wrist and a warning for providers more than anything, because as we mentioned, we do take a lot of this on trust, and you've got to have confidence when you get your bill through that it's right.
How do we get the money then?
Good question. Ofgem are the ones who have obviously told off each of those providers, and I think they're contacting all the customers that have been affected. So it will come down to who the individual providers are. I'd encourage people to Google it and to see what their providers have got to say, because literally you've got a list of exactly how many providers, how many customers are affected, what the payout is due by each of the companies. So I'm sure they have all the information listed on their website.
So not even energy companies understand energy bills. That's encouraging, isn't it?
You're right, but better go back to coal, Eddie.
Don't start that. Chris Justin from 7 Investment Management with the LBC Business News. Scotland's First Minister has suggested the lockdown easing could happen more quickly, and all secondary school pupils in Scotland will return to classrooms part-time from March the 15th. Reporting for LBC from Glasgow, Alan Szynski.
I do think we have every reason now to believe that the exit from lockdown might be quicker and come sooner than we believed
would be the case just a few weeks ago.
It was hard not to feel optimistic listening to Nicola Sturgeon update Holyrood today. After a bleak winter shutdown, it looks like a spring reopening is now very much on the cards. The First Minister said she'll set out next week some changes to the current rules, and those changes would be supported by Scotland's latest data.
This time last week we were recording an average of 815 new cases a day. That has now fallen to 657, and this is the lowest level since the first week of October last year. Hospital admissions are also falling. In the first half of January, more than 1,000 COVID patients a week were being admitted to hospital. In the week up to 23rd February, that had fallen to 468.
But for now, the biggest update we've had, as was the case last week, is on education. The younger years are already back in school full-time, and we now know that primary 4s to 7s will also be returning a week on Monday. And secondary school pupils are also going to be back on a blended basis. Priority will be given to the older years 4 to 6, who are sitting their exams, and the aim is for the younger years to get some time in buildings too. But Leanne Maguire's daughter in secondary 3 in Glasgow would have rather waited until after Easter for a full-time return.
In her head, she's like, what's the point of getting up and getting dressed, going away into school for an hour or two, and then coming back home? And also our other concern is that when she is home, she's not going to have that support from her teachers that she's currently got, because they'll be busy teaching like the other half of the school class.
Nicola Sturgeon's plan is for all pupils to be back full-time after the Easter holidays. So hope is very much on the horizon. Officials will now be carefully monitoring cases with everything crossed to see if these positive trends continue.
Alan Szynski reporting. A trial date has been set for 4 people charged with criminal damage in relation to the toppling of a statue of a slave trader in Bristol. Reporting for LBC from Bristol Crown Court, Sam Cook.
The monument to the 17th century slaver Edward Colston was torn from its plinth and dragged into the water at Bristol Harbour last summer. It was during a Black Lives Matter protest here in the city in June 2020. And this is the moment the bronze statue hit the ground. Now 3 men and a woman will go on trial on the 13th of December, having pleaded not guilty to the criminal damage charge against them during the hearing this morning. The 4 defendants have been granted unconditional bail, but must return to Bristol Crown Court on that date for the trial. It will likely last 7 or 8 days. Today's hearing comes on the same one as a meeting at Bristol City Councillors, which is happening now to discuss Bristol's historic involvement in enslavement and the idea of reparations. Those bringing the motion say those reparations are not necessarily financial and could include public apologies, social justice initiatives, education or cultural projects. We'll find out more on that later tonight.
Sam Cook reporting. In just a moment, is the EU planning vaccine passports for this summer? Details after the headlines from Thomas Watts.
Health officials have narrowed the search for a missing case of the Brazil COVID variant. Figures suggest a quarter of people in England have now developed some protection from the virus. Ministers in Scotland are to consider speeding up the process of ending the lockdown. A cloudy night for many with rain in the southwest, a low of -2.
LBC Travel, I'm Louise Knight, and if you need to make a journey this evening, expect delays on the M25 in Surrey, anti-clockwise heading towards 9 for Leatherhead. The exit slip there is still shut with an oil spillage. Further anti-clockwise on the Surrey stretch, one lane's closed with a broken down lorry between Reigate at 8 and the M23 at junction 7. The North Sector in East London has huge delays eastbound from the A10 Great Cambridge junction at Edmonton to an earlier accident at the Crooked Billis at Walthamstow. There are delays of 15 minutes heading north on the M6 in the West Midlands from Great Bar at 7 to the M5 interchange at junction 8, and in Falkirk all traffic's being held north on the M80 after the M876 with a police investigation. Finally, on the trains, Southern and Thameslink are warning of delays from Three Bridges to Horsham due to an investigation.
LBC.
Your office is outdoors. The aircon is the elements Mother Nature serves up. You carry the earth that shapes the landscapes, the bricks that build the homes to keep us warm, the feed that grows the greens that bring colour to our Sunday roasts. For the tireless outdoor workers, this is your cargo bed. The Ford Ranger Wildtrak, the UK's best-selling pickup. It can carry a ton, it can pull 3.5 tons, and it can do it all off-road in whatever Mother Nature serves up. The Ford Ranger Wildtrak, built for the office in the wild. We're with you on this journey. Ford Commercial Vehicles. Search Backbone of Britain.
For verification, search SMMT New Van Market 2021.
This is LBC. Pay attention to the beat. No, not the sultry vibes of these sexy bongos. BEAT stands for breathless, exhausted, ankle swelling. Time to ask your GP for a simple blood test. Because these symptoms could be a sign of heart failure. But the sooner it's diagnosed, the better the chance of keeping the beat going. Pumping Marvellous helps people live well with heart failure. Find out more and donate now at pumpingmarvellous.org.
Money doesn't grow on trees, so it's no wonder you're frustrated about all the money you've lost due to being missold a stocks and shares ISA or investment bond by your bank. Don't accept it. AMK Legal, an actual law firm, are ready to assign a personal lawyer to your case. You could get your money back in a matter of weeks. There's no paperwork for you to worry about, and what's even better, there's also no upfront fee. Simply text GOOD to 78900. That's GOOD to 78900.
Get brilliant broadband at a brilliant price, because superfast fibre is now $24.99 a month for 24 months with a $19.99 setup. With BT, you get the speeds we promise or £20 back with our Stay Fast guarantee. Powerful Wi-Fi from our smart hub with a Which Best Buy, and more online security than any other big provider. So, join BT today. Offer ends 20th of March. CPI plus 3.9% increase each March. £32.99 from month 25. £20 BT reward card if we can't fix speed in 30 days. To verify, email superfast.fibre@bt.com. Terms apply.
Your office is outdoors. The aircon is the elements Mother Nature serves up. You carry the earth that shapes the landscapes, the bricks that build the homes to keep us warm, the feed that grows the greens that bring colour to our Sunday roasts. For the tireless outdoor workers, this is your cargo bed. The Ford Ranger Wildtrak, the UK's best-selling pickup. It can carry a ton, it can pull 3.5 tons, and it can do it all off-road in whatever Mother Nature serves.
The sign on the left is telling you what you need to do. That sign. Now look in your right door mirror. Look at the car that's going to merge with you.
Verification search SMMT New Van Market 2021.
The Admiral and Mrs. Taylor.
Then look at the Mondeo in front of you, the white coloured car in front of you.
Thanks for the latte.
And then look in your right door mirror at the car behind you.
I bundled my son's car, my home, and my mum's cottage, and saved £309.
Yeah, all your family cars and homes protected, even at different addresses.
And everyone gets a discount.
Save up to £309 on your car and home insurance with Admiral Multicover. Rewardingly simple. 10% saved versus like-for-like policies February to August 2020.
School bag? Check. PE kit? Check. Face mask? Check. To comply with UK government guidelines, make sure your children aged 12 and over always have a covering or face mask to take to school. Order before 4 p.m. weekdays for same-day dispatch from trustedppe.co.uk. Rated excellent on Trustpilot.
Talking about the efforts to allow more travel this summer, particularly around Europe.
Slowly start moving over to the right.
Grass, and apparently the UK.
Make sure you check your mirrors.
Reporting for LBC Live.
Blind spot if needed. Now start your routine.
Plans that could be in place as early as June.
Make sure that your right signal is on.
27 nations. That would, of course, allow Brits to get back to the beaches, piazzas and hotels of mainland Europe. We understand from proposals that we've had some detail of it.
Start your routine for coming off. Start changing your position and start checking your blind spot and your mirrors to come off.
Pass, which would provide either proof of inoculation or test results for anyone who hasn't received the jabs, as well as information about the person's recovery if they've previously had the
You're now going to park somewhere near the chip shop. That's opposite the test centre.
Across Europe and into Europe for anyone
where that man's jogging, the runner. You're going to park behind that silver car. Signal at the correct time. Adjust your speed accordingly.
To British tourists, with Matt Hancock said to be talking directly to Brussels. However, there is still some way to go in terms of getting this over the line. Vivian Lunena is a European Commission spokesperson.